What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I got an interesting article for you guys today, and we're just going to jump right into it. Why not? GOP pushes ahead with citizenship voting bill. Some state election officials say it's problematic. Now, I will say right off the jump, when I first clicked on this article, I use Ground News, as you guys probably know at this point, and it immediately went to the Gateway Pundit. And I read that article, and I was like, blah. Yeah, who cares about this? But then I was like, well, hang on, let me see what leftist media is having to say about this. And I went to the Associated Press, and here we go, y'all. Here I'm covering an article that, when the right wing publicates it, I'm like, yeah, this is ridiculous. No need to worry about this. I was going to go to the next one, but I read it from the AP. It's totally different article, just completely different, and just insane. It's just insanity incarnate. Let's get into this right quick. The centerpiece election legislation from congressional Republicans will require voters to prove their citizenship when registering, raising concerns among state election officials about how it would be implemented and who would pay for it. Oh man, criminal aliens don't vote in elections, so we can't afford to do this. But you can afford anything and everything else. We can afford to send billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to fund a war, but we can't fund our own elections to make sure they're secure. Yeah, good job, Associated Press. In recent interviews, secretaries of states from both parties said they were wary of federal lawmakers creating state election rules and of costly new procedures that would come with them, including collecting and storing sensitive documents. They also criticized a provision that would allow for civil or criminal penalties against any election official who registers someone without evidence of citizenship. Yes, why not? Why not disincentivize these people, making sure they do their job right? Like, once again, sure, things can slip through the cracks, but if you do your due diligence, right, and make sure you check all the paperwork that's required to check, there's nothing to worry about. If these people, the criminal alien, forged their documents, that's no longer on the election official at all. That would be on the criminal alien themselves, and they would have nothing to worry about. So this is a moot point. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows said there is no federal database that states can use to confirm a person's citizenship status. Election officials describe databases maintained by the Social Security Administration and Department of Homeland Security as unreliable. Yeah, that's the HAVV, as a matter of fact, the Help America Vote Verification. This is a database where you can cross-reference, registrations with Social Security numbers. That's exactly what this is for. And we went through an article 6, 8, 9 months ago. I forget how long ago it was, but we went through it. And we went through that database. And it's not hard to use, y'all. It is not hard to use at all. So they're just making excuses now. But once again, this is the cart before the horse type of thing. What the legislation proposes is a new database and tools to make sure that we know these people are citizens of this country. But let's keep going. Reasonable people can agree that only citizens should be voting in our elections, said Bellows, a Democrat. If they want us to prove citizenship, they need to build the infrastructure for that to happen. So what she's basically telling you right here is, all right, let's break this down like this. Okay, say we're in a boat, right? And all of a sudden there's a hole right there. What she's basically saying is that, instead of plugging the hole, let's try to figure out some way we can scoop more water out of the boat instead of plugging the hole. That's what she's saying here, basically. It's ridiculous. These people are insane. House Republicans are ready to act quickly. With the urging of President Donald Trump, you like how they do that, with the urging of President Donald Trump, trying to pretend he's a dictator or something. House Republicans are expected to move quickly to advance the legislation known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act. A proof of citizenship requirement was included in a package of priority bills that can bypass committee and head straight to a floor vote. That could happen as soon as this week, though the bill's prospects in the Senate are uncertain amid likely Democratic opposition. Now, once again, I'm not sure if this is the AP trying to throw Democrats some red meat, or it would be actually tofu or a head of lettuce or something with this. But do they not think about what they're saying here? Oh, the future of it's uncertain. Sure, they can get away with saying that, but what are you trying to telegraph to people here? What is the message? Oh, well, it's not going to go through. Is that what you're trying to say? It's because it's uncertain? Of course it's uncertain. They haven't voted on it yet. But considering that Republicans have a majority in the House, the Senate, and we also have the White House, where's the opposition here? Right? The likely Democratic opposition? So what if they oppose it? Who cares? We just need a simple majority. These people are, once again, state election officials said they generally support steps to ensure that only U.S. citizens are voting, an issue that typically involves a tiny fraction of ballots and is more often an individual mistake rather than an intentional and coordinated attempt to subvert an election. Once again, you know, you got the boat and the plug with the hole and the buckets of water here. Well, like, what are you trying to say? Instead of plugging the hole, they're just trying to scoop out more water, is all they're trying to do. That's what that's telling you. Because, you know, these people allow millions of criminal aliens to pour into this country. And then they're just kind of scant on, you know, what bucket should we use to get this water out of the boat? You know, maybe we're not using a big enough bucket, so we might as well not even try. That's nonsense, if you ask me. Just total and utter, blatant nonsense. Oh, we shouldn't try because it doesn't happen. Well, who says it doesn't happen? These are the same people that are continually saying, there's no way to know. There's no databases. They're unreliable. So there's no way to know. But hey, it's not happening. It's not happening at all. It's rare. But there's no way to know if it happens. Once again, these people are insane, y'all. Debates largely center on how best to accomplish that, whether the responsibility should fall on the voter or whether the federal government should do a better job providing states with reliable data to verify citizenship status. Once again, cart before the horse here. That's what the SAVE Act will do. Create a whole new database. It will allocate funds for this specifically. They don't want to do it. Oh, we can't do it. They don't have a reliable database, so we might as well not even try. Once again, this boat is sinking, y'all. Instead of plugging the hole, we can't scoop water out fast enough, so let's just go down with the ship. Every time there's federal legislation, I've got concerns, especially when the feds talk about things that the states typically do on a year-by-year, day-to-day basis, said Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab, a Republican. Just because you think it'll work in your state doesn't mean it'll work in everybody else's state. What? Are you kidding me? Like, these people are insane. Just because you build a house using nails doesn't mean when you build a house over here using nails that it'll work. So we might as well not even try. Okay, buddy. Sure. Republicans in Congress have said the current process for registering voters is filled with loopholes that have allowed people who are not U.S. citizens to vote in past elections and relies on a system in which voters sign an oath that they are a citizen. Yeah, that's kind of stupid if you ask me. Once again, because what does that even do? Well, it does do a little bit, but it doesn't do very much. Because, sure, they could just lie, but you do now have a paper trail to where if you actually do come across this, you can say, oh, hang on, they signed an oath saying that they're not a citizen, but I see them right here on the registry, and it looks like they voted. Maybe let's go find this person. But, why even worry about that? Because it's rare, right? It doesn't ever happen. Once again. Before the 2024 election, Trump pushed claims, without evidence, that such people might vote in large enough numbers to sway the outcome. In fact, voting by non-citizens is rare and can lead to felony charges and deportation. Once again, folks, We have this thing in this country called gun-free zones. And that has not stopped a single individual school shooter from shooting up a school at all. That does not stop the thousands, if not, it's in the tens of thousands of people that die from gun violence every year. Having guns be illegal. It's illegal to shoot somebody else. It's illegal to speed. It is illegal to run a stop sign. It is illegal to go into a store and take things out. Just because we have a law doesn't mean that nobody's going to break it. It's called consequences for actions. These people are nuts, y'all. I'm like getting fed up with the Associated Press at this point. I am so glad that Donald Trump revoked their privilege from Air Force One and the White House. Or the Oval Office, I should say. Since his victory in November, Trump has continued to press for changes to how elections are run, including requiring proof of citizenship. Yes, this is a common sense measure, by the way. No money included, and the threat of prosecution. Utah Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, a Republican who oversees elections in her state, said she was concerned about federal overreach and the legislation lacking the support states will need to make it work. It definitely shouldn't be on throwing election workers or secretaries of state or county clerks in jail for accidentally registering a non-citizen to vote when we don't have adequate tools to even verify citizenship, she said. Now, once again, this argument was already made earlier, and we already addressed all this. Cart before the horse, and once again, you've got this thing called enforcement, where if somebody sees it was a clear accident, no. Sorry. Another concern is funding the bill does not include an appropriation, leaving states to cover the cost of its implementation. That is not true. I've read this bill, or I read at least some of it, and I did see allocations for appropriations to assist with this. I'm not sure what they're talking about here. Federal money for elections has long been a point of contention for some election officials. If you talk to the vast majority of election officials, they will tell you that federal investment in our elections is sorely needed, especially if folks in Congress are going to be talking about things like the SAVE Act, which only increases costs of running elections and increase federal oversight and involvement in our elections, said Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, a Democrat. Okay, so I see what they're saying here. The SAVE Act will create a database just for this specific reason, which will be funded by Congress, but they're not actually giving money to the states to do this because they are going to be doing it. So that's the argument that is made, because that was the part that I read in the SAVE Act, that they are creating a database specifically for this, just so it's easier to do, and that is getting funded. They're not giving states money for this. But once again, they're acting like there's no federal regulation on anything at all, ever. What, we can't regulate elections just because they're supposed to be done by the states? We also supposed to carry out state laws are supposed to be enforced by the state. That doesn't mean the federal government's going to give you money to do it, although they do, which is ridiculous. But, once again, they're acting like there's no guidelines for anything from the federal government. We have the Constitution of America and the Bill of Rights that every state has to follow regardless. This would just be an addition to that. This would just be a guideline. Look, do it this way. That's it. We're going to give you the tool to do this. We're not giving you money to do it. We will make this database and have you have the ability to access it, but we're not going to give you any money to do so. I'm sorry. Concerns about voters having the right documents. Voting rights groups have said married women who have changed their name could have trouble registering under the SAVE Act because their birth certificate lists their maiden name. Well, how do they register for anything else after they get married that requires a birth certificate? Anyway, That's a ridiculous argument. Those groups have also criticized the bill's requirement that people provide documents in person, saying that there could be a challenge for people in rural parts of the country where visiting an election office might require a long drive and taking time off from work. How do they do it in the first place? How do these people do anything that requires going to the Social Security Administration or going to some other federal administration office or doing anything else? Going to the DMV every 4 years to have your driver's license renewed or blah, 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 blah. That's just a fact of life. Sorry. These people act like people can't do anything at all, ever. Under the current registration system, those seeking to register are asked to provide either a state driver's license number or the last 4 digits of their Social Security number and are directed to sign an oath swearing that they're a U.S. citizen. A few states require a full Social Security number. And that's it. That's all to that one. These people are crying about this, once again, because it's Republicans doing it. And because it makes sense. And once again, you got to look a little bit deeper, and this dips into conspiracy theory because I can't prove it, but why would anybody oppose this? Why would anybody oppose this at all? Unless you want criminal aliens voting in this country. Once again, look what happened in California. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do, and that's what Democrats want to do. That's the only reason they would allow so many criminal aliens to come into this country, knowing how unpopular it is. Joe Biden was willing to sacrifice Kamala Harris at the altar of the border just to get 15 to 20 million criminal aliens in this country and try like hell to get them registered to vote. We know they were registering non-citizens. They didn't count on state attorneys general actually, and state election officials actually going through the voter rolls and finding these non-citizens and booting them off. See, that's the thing. Republicans seem to have no problems doing this whatsoever. But Democrats, they're like, oh, well, we don't have the tools to do this. There's no reliable method to do this. There's no mechanisms that we can use. We need levers to pull, y'all, and there are none, except for the levers right in front of you that all these Republicans seem to be pulling. These people are insane, y'all. And I don't get it, but hey, it is what it is. They want to change the electorate in this country. That's the only reason you would allow this many people to come in. Knowing that it puts a strain on your resources. It puts a strain on your own population, for crying out loud. Puts a strain on the housing market. Puts a strain on the jobs market. Should I keep going? Because we could go down the line for a while. Once again, these people, they see that the boat has a hole in it. And instead of plugging that hole, they want to sit here and they think that, there's more water coming in than we can scoop out with these buckets. So why even do anything? They don't think, let's plug the hole and then scoop all this water out and then we'll be fine here. They don't use common sense. They don't use their brain to think about what they're saying at all. They just want a virtue signal and just call Republicans evil for wanting to require that, proof of citizenship for people to vote in our elections. That's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It blows my mind on a constant basis. The level of idiocy these people, the lengths they're willing to go to look stupid in front of everybody. Makes no sense, y'all. But once again, that's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.